And, and I got a good joke that I heard that you'll enjoy.
Okay, well let's
It's dirty, so I know you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My, my
And I
my
think the fans will too.
my public persona is probably a lot cleaner than my private persona, and which is
Right.
saying something considering how unclean I am online. That phrasing, Jesus, phrasing.
Well, this one came from the mouths of babes.
Okay.
If I wouldn't have heard it, I wouldn't have believed it.
On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, Springfield to make 2011s, who blew up Putin's toady, Valet crashes La Ferrari, and we bought the Massey.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 269 of the John1911 Podcast. It is 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, August 29th, and it's been a hot minute since we've done a podcast, unfortunately, because I've been quite busy dealing with equipment for the John1911 range. But before we get into that, I actually want to make a literary comment on something before I forget, because I know once we get into the podcast, it'll be lost. Any of you who are interested in World War II history, or maybe you can make an argument revisionist World War II history, people trying to change history, there's a book written by Malcom Gladwell, and I think he originally created this book as an audio book, and then I think he did a print version, and it's called The Bomber Mafia. And I just want to say it's an interesting book, and I generally agree with most of how it operates, because it's not most of what it goes into. And it's talking about the early days of the Army Air Corps and how it affected the creation of the Air Force, and and how this group at Maxwell Air Force Base, which what eventually became, believed in precision bombing. And so he goes through all of this stuff. It's very interesting, and he pits two groups against each other, basically. The Bomber Mafia, which are the precision bombing people, versus, I'll say, Curtis LeMay. And everything, the book is fine. The book is very interesting. The book is factually correct. And then at the very end, when he's giving his summations, he basically is trying to make the argument that Curtis LeMay was wrong, and the Bomber Mafia people were right. The precision bombing people were right. And all I can say is to Mr. Malcom Gladwell, thank God Curtis LeMay did what he had to do to win the war in the Pacific and bring Japan to its knees. And the conclusions of your book are all wrong. Curtis LeMay was right. And if it wasn't for Curtis LeMay and the atomic bombs, we would have had to invade the main Japanese islands in November of 1945, and the War Department had made plans expecting the war to last into 1947. And how many millions of people potentially listening to your book today, would not be alive because their grandfathers died on Kyushu and the Japanese home islands? I'm just saying, Malcom Gladwell, your conclusions at the end of your book are all wrong. So anyway, I had to get it off my
You have
chest.
to remember that LeMay was the biggest proponent of the saturation bombing, which proved to be very valuable.
Well, I don't. Okay, we're going to get into it a little bit. So, it's precision bombing versus the saturation bombing, and in the book it sets up a lot of the. Let me clear my. I had to hit mute there for a second. Precision bombing versus saturation bombing, and the reality was, it talks about the Norton bomb site, and talks about the British bomber force, and what was it? What they call that guy? Bomber Harry, or I can't remember what they called him. But they're basically like, we're going to burn these cities to the ground, and in Germany, and it's morale bombing, and this idea of the British are making this argument that we're going to break the German civilians' morale by bombing the hell out of their cities. And it's like the big bugaboo in the room is, I don't know, did that shit work when the Germans bombed the fuck out of London? Apparently it didn't. It seemed to change. It seemed to harden the civilian population. And this concept I'm about to introduce into this conversation was not in Malcom Gladwell's book, but it's something I think every person listening to this podcast would be wise to understand this concept. And this concept is called elite panic. And what this means is it's an idea of the people in charge have no faith that the general population will do the right thing. We can't tell them the truth. They wouldn't be able to handle it. Basically is what it boils down to. We have to protect them by not telling them the truth because they'll all panic. And it turns out the civilian population generally doesn't panic. They figure out the best ways to go forward. And the real panic is from the elites who are trying to hide how bad things are from the general population. Hence the phrase elite panic. Anyone that's listening to this podcast has recently been through COVID, and that all the problems you see with, the Fauci and the Colonel Doctor and then the CDC woman and all these people, it's all elite panic shit. You can't tell people the truth. We can't tell them how bad this is going to be. We can't do whatever. And so then it gets its own thing. So with the bomber mafia, the long story short is there's a group of people, and the main hero of this argument is General Hansen when he becomes a general. I think it's Hansen. And their argument is we can bomb from 30,000 feet and drop a bomb into a pickle barrel. We can target a specific place and do damage without having to burn down half a country. If we hit the ball bearing factory or we hit the whatever factory, but the reality is the technology wasn't really in place for that to happen. Now, that's where the Air Force is today, but we got to talk about the war. And then, this stuff, they tried to do this stuff in Germany, and in particular, this ball bearing plant. And what happened was the bomber mafia guys, the precision bombing guys, wanted to hit this ball bearing plant. And so they came up with the idea, it's a daylight, to have to bomb during the day so they can see the targets and drop the bombs. And what they did is they sent a decoy bombing raid to another town in Germany. So, a bunch of planes were going to this town in Germany, and all the German fighters, the American bombers are going to this town in Germany, and all the German fighters go tear ass over there to attack these people. Well, the decoy raid was commanded by Curtis LeMay. At the time, he was a colonel. And, they took a lot of damage. They lost a lot of dudes. They lost a lot of people. And the actual real raid that went for the ball bearing factory, they lost a lot of people. And they didn't really do that much damage to the ball bearing factory. It really didn't pay off. They lost a lot of people. They lost, I think, maybe if you could think about it, they lost a fifth of all of their aircraft. I mean, if you have to fly a mission every day or every other day once a week, and you're losing 20% of your people, you're combat ineffective within 2 missions, and you are at 0 within 6 weeks. I mean, so this argument, so these dudes, this battle was going on in the European theater, and then these bomber mafia guys ended up over in the Marianas trying to do precision bombing over there in against Japan. And there were other issues. It was super far away. There were problems with the high winds and trying to do precision bombing up high. And then they're trying to come in from the Marianas and Guam and the Solomon Islands down there, And then that they weren't really getting what they wanted, so they tried to fly people in and gas and airplanes over the hump from India into China and come in from the other side. Do you have a mute button, Danny? On your new
Yeah,
microphone?
I just did.
Well, you
Yeah,
did
because I had to cough.
The mute didn't work. Danny's got his new microphone.
Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, they were trying to do this precision bombing over Japan. It wasn't really working, and Hansen was in command, and eventually I think the number 2 chief of staff of the Air Force flew in, or the Army Air Corps flew in to whatever, and basically sacked Hansen and said, Curtis LeMay's taking over. You got 10 days, you're out. And Curtis LeMay, he's an objective guy. He's like, well, we're going to try to do some of the precision bombing techniques. We're going to make sure the shit either works or doesn't work. Because the argument was LeMay's like, look, I'm agnostic here. If the maybe this isn't working because the commander is a fucktard, and maybe we get the right people and I can run this, and let's see if this shit works. And so he did that for a few months, and he's like, this shit ain't working. So he basically switched to dropping napalm at 5,000 feet in nighttime raids over Tokyo and all these little 60 of these cities, and burned all this shit up. And basically, that and the atomic bombs, brought Japan to their knees. And even in Malcom Gladwell's book, at the very end of the book, there's a researcher who is researching all this in Japan, maybe in the 80s, and talking to survivors and talking to people that were alive during World War II. And this researcher was shocked that the Japanese even told this researcher, thank you for the bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the atomic bombs, and thank you for the firebombing, because we all knew the war was going to go on for years and there was going to be an invasion and we were dreading it. You all knew the war was going to go on for years. There was going to be a land invasion and you were dreading it. And the fact that you did all this shit brought all this to a quicker end and saved everybody's lives, including Japanese lives. And so Malcom Gladwell says all of this shit in his book. And then at the end is like, yeah, but Hansen's the hero, and Hansen's right, and LeMay was wrong, and Curtis LeMay isn't the kind of person that we want, isn't really the best person for the job, or history's going to judge well. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like, Curtis LeMay's a goddamn hero, and thank our lucky stars that we have people like Curtis LeMay that go in and get the hard shit done. Ultimately it saves lives. And I'm just like, Malcom Gladwell is he's a very interesting book. I don't know a whole lot about Malcom Gladwell, but his personal conclusions at the end of this book are bass-ackwards. And that's shocking. And if you don't want to take my word for it, buy the book, listen to the book. It's very interesting. And tell me if you don't come away with the same conclusion I have, that Curtis LeMay is right. And what Malcom Gladwell was trying to say at the end of this book was wrong. Anyway, I'm off. It just pissed me. It kind of really cranked me yesterday. I was listening to it while I was running the tractor.
I was wondering when you found time to, between your farm duties and other things going on, to listen to a book.
The tractor has that's a good segue into the tractor, the new tractor for the John 1911 range. I've put about 9 hours on the tractor since we got it. And so the tractor has a cab, air conditioning, radio, and Bluetooth. So I literally can listen to shit while I've even thought about, as a possibility, if I could get the microphones to work out in the background noise, I could even maybe record solo podcasts while I'm in the tractor cutting the range.
Yeah, and then as you mow over a rock and you get that grind and thumping under the mowing deck, that you'll have to edit that out.
Well, most of that stuff I've gotten. I've already suffered and cleared. That's why the previous equipment's destroyed. So anyway, I don't mean to digress on the whole.
Well, how is your apprenticeship on tractor operating going?
That is perfect, and we can't expand on it beyond
perfect.
It's perfect. Perfect. So
yeah. Well, are you getting used to it?
Oh yeah. So just for people that maybe listen to the podcast that don't consume our other social media, we purchased a Massey Ferguson 4707 tractor with a cab. It is a 75 horsepower tractor at 1900 RPM. I think it's technically built as a 70 horsepower tractor, but it's really a 75. It's a 2021 model. It was like new. It had 280 hours on it. And it has no DEF fluid and no DPF. So there's none of that emission stuff that notoriously goes wrong. Hint, John Deere E-Series tractors. People that are in the tractor space are going to know this, because John Deere is really in big trouble with their E-Series tractors, which is part of the reason why we stay clear of them. But yeah, it's a cool tractor. It's a heavyweight tractor. It's a large frame track. Well, it's a large utility tractor. It's not a large ag tractor, but it's an ag quality tractor. And the way it's spec'd, with the front end loader, wheel weights, and fluid in the tires, it weighs over 11,000 pounds, which was a major selling point for us.
It's a nice unit, no doubt about it. Have you mowed the inclines yet, or pretty much just flat mowing?
No, I've done the hill in front of the main shooting area and the covered shooting position. I call it the picnic shelter. So the main shooting area where you see a lot of the rifles, where people are shooting from rifles. I've done the front field, the parking lot. I've done the middle field. I've actually cut at the 500, 600 yard impact zone. So the main farthest impact zone that you can see on film. I've cut all around that. I've cut that whole hill, and it's very stable. So thank God for that. It's very stable, and I just take it slow. But it doesn't feel tippy toppy or tumbly at all. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to do anything. Now I did learn a lesson on that hill because I was cutting. I was backing up and down this hill, just taking it easy. And so it's a hydrostat transmission. It's got the shuttle on the left of the steering wheel.
Yes.
I can flip it from reverse to neutral or forward. And so its bottom is reverse, middle's neutral, top is forward. And then I can also just pull the shuttle up and hold it and put the tractor in neutral. And I can't remember what it was I did. I don't know if I pulled it into neutral or I put it in the middle neutral, but I think I had and I was hitting the brake and to try to look at something, and it's an 11,000 pound tractor on a hill, and it started rolling downhill backwards, what I perceived to be out of control. So I was like, oh shit, like, why isn't it stopping? I'm looking, my foot's on the brake, and I realized I just wasn't hitting the brake hard enough. And, on the outside looking in, you just would have seen the tractor probably move a couple feet and come to a quick stop. But inside the tractor, and in my mind, I felt like I was in like a 747 careening towards the ground going, ah! Like that was the real lesson of the hydrostat transmission, because, it's powered up, it's charged. That's the way I can describe it with the hydraulics. And, when you put it in neutral or hold it in neutral, it just, the hydraulics, they release. So it releases the tractor, and I just, I either did something wrong or wasn't holding the pedal heavy enough, because it's 11,000 pound tractor, and I will not make that mistake. That was my true close call lesson with the tractor.
Well, if that ever happens again, remember, when you start rolling back, and no matter what, when you're mowing, always have your hand on the deck lever. Because if you roll back like that, you want to raise that deck right away so you don't V-pinch down on the 3-point where the deck attaches to the 3-point. So if you're ever rolling backwards like that, out of control, raise that deck.
Okay.
You always mow with your hand on the raise and lower of the deck lever. Always. Because you never know, if you see something, you hit something, you have to raise it right away immediately.
Okay. So the argument is not to shut off the PTO, but raise the deck as soon as you can.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You always want to control that deck no matter what.
Okay.
Because if you ever V-pinch that going down a hill and it costs you a lot to fix it, you'll understand why you should have raised it.
Well, give me the full, 5-year-old definition of how would you describe a V-pinch? Like, what does that mean to the...
Okay, you're going down the hill.
I know, but mechanically, like, I've damaged the tractor and it's V-pinched.
Right, you can bend
what's fucked up?
Usually the bars, with the turnbuckles on them for adjustment. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just have a hard... Those are so heavy and thick on this tractor.
But trust me, you'll break a yoke. Trust me. Trust me from experience. I've seen it.
Well, you did it for 30 years.
Yeah, well, that's why I say never mow without your hand on the raised lower level. Never.
Hmm.
because even if you hit a rock or you get into some trees or something, you're going to want to raise, or some undergrowth bushes you might not have seen. You're going to want to raise that deck immediately and not think, oh, I have to move my hand over here to raise it. Always mow one hand on the wheel and one hand on the deck.
Okay. Okay. So one thing I don't really have a handle on is just because I can raise and lower the deck, but I don't, it's going to sound dumb, but look, I've never operated a tractor before, but I don't really have an idea of how to set the float. I imagine it's just all the way down.
And it locks.
Yeah,
all the
there's
way
some
down,
kind.
and you'll feel all the way down, and if memory serves me right, you'll feel like another inch it'll go into a lock.
Yeah, so I've never actually floated the deck yet. I just raise and lower it to where, like it's on 6. 6 plus is like if I really want to cut low, but like if I see stuff, I'm like, I don't know exactly, like we're gonna go into a dip, I raise it, and cut high, but so
Well,
I mean,
have you found any unearthed rocks within the grass that you didn't know were there?
no,
yet?
but I found 2 trees. I've
See?
hit 2 trees, and
That's why you have your hand on the raised lower handle.
yeah, and I was able to basically, because I was cut until yesterday, I was cutting with the pallet forks on the front. So what I did is I would just, raise the deck, disengage all that, turn around, hit it with the pallet forks, lift the stuff, and just dump it off the trails. And
Nice.
That's super handy. So,
So, did you mow any of the trees? Yes, you did.
oh yeah, like the one tree, I hit it. Like it took a big chip out of it, and I got out of the tractor and even looked, and I was like, is anything fucking broken here? And I just cut the corner of it, and because it was in tall grass on the edge, on this hill that's a field. It's if you're looking down the rifle range, and you're looking at our farthest impact shooting position for the listener, it's off to the left. You can't see it because there's a whole area that turns. You can't, but it's imagine it's off to the left about 200 yards from where you see targets. And it was back in there, and I hit a tree and took a big chip out of it, and nothing got broken. And I, turned everything back on, lifted everything back up, everything is running, and whereas like the previous machine, that'd have been over. So try not to do that, but I like the fact that if I screw up, at least there's a chance that I could still survive with this setup. So that's a win.
Yeah, it is. Well, the more experience you get in that thing, the more comfortable you get on the thing. And it looks like you're going to have to remow probably in a few days because you're supposed to get some serious storms tonight.
Yeah. I just have to mow as, depending on what I'm doing and as needed. I mow around the parking area and the shooting positions fairly regularly, but I let stuff go farther out for targets unless I need a lane so people can get to the targets. But, I'm not that worried about it. Like, so also I need to kind of, I don't want to knock down all the grass because I've kind of learned for hunting, because Doc likes to hunt out there and some of the sniper guys like to hunt out there. If I knock down all this grass, you can see the deer all lay in this grass. And it would be nice if I left some of it in certain areas, at least through hunting season, so they could be in pretty good positions when a deer stands up, they can shoot the deer. So
Right.
The nice thing with the tractor is I can let stuff kind of overgrow and then come back and knock it down, like when I'm done with it, or even like next year, and I'm not screwed. Where the previous equipment, you got 9 months out of sequence on stuff. Trying to knock stuff down, you risk breaking things. So,
Oh, yeah.
It's been.
Have you had to fuel that thing up yet?
No, I'm just at half a tank now. So again, like you warned me.
Remember what I told you.
I know, like you warned me, and everybody, and the dealer warned me. They're like, if you're cutting on flat surfaces, you get to a quarter tank, you're probably okay. But if you cut on hills and you're at a quarter tank, they're like, we suggest that you fill it up before you pull air into your system. They've seen, the only issue they've seen is like guys running the gas too low and cutting on hills, and they're like, I'm getting a low quality or low quality fuel error, and it's like, how much? What do you want? I'm on a hill. How much gas? I have an eighth of a tank. They're like, that's your fucking problem. So, I've got off-road diesel source, which is the closest gas station to the range. So I haven't taken the tractor onto the main road yet to drive it down there to fill it up. But I've got 5-gallon diesel cans coming today. So the yellow ones. So
yeah, I sort of know what they are.
Yeah, I figured you would. I mean, I've got other gas cans, but I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and use the yellow ones because I want to make sure that nobody besides me decides, I'm going to put some gas in this thing or put gas into the General. And, it's like, oh, God. So, it's like, it's fine. So,
well, I'm glad that you're becoming accustomed to it.
Yeah. I will say this because you and I have talked because you were part of all this. And so this seems like old news to you, but to the listener at home, because a lot of people just are now realizing we got this tractor. Purchasing this tractor was the worst buying experience of my life.
I told you we got our car easier than you got that tractor.
I've bought sports cars. I've bought shit. I signed on a Lamborghini in the 90s a lot easier than this. And, how do I say it? Anyone that says, oh, yeah, like used car salesmen, like you got to watch them. I have never had the amount of people who will lie to you, like some tractor people, like tractor dealers will lie to you. It was bad. It was flat out terrible. And, quite disheartening. But I'll say this. The tractor that I bought, it's not new, but I could have bought a new one with full warranty. This tractor still has 14 months of warranty on it. And the dealer that I bought it from has never lied. Now, I will say this. They don't like me. I mean, they certainly were not liking me during, while I'm shopping for tractors. A lot of it is because of, I'm not going to overpay. And my ability, I didn't quite reveal my ability financially to do things until the very end. So we went from finance tractor rates to $10,000 down to $30,000 down and getting those rates and bottom dollars. And then it was, all right, now hit me with your cash rate. And they're just like, fuck me. But, they're all trying to get as much money as they can. The dealer that I bought this tractor from, they wanted a little bit too much for this tractor. And, in their defense, there's nothing wrong with that. In their defense, like, okay, people that are listening to this podcast, if you've ever heard of a company called Messick's in Pennsylvania. Messick's, they're probably one of the largest tractor dealers in the country. Neil Messick's, you may see him online. There's a lot of Kubota dealers around the John 1911 range. It's basically around us. It's Kubota and John Deere are the two prominent tractor makes around us. And you could secondarily say New Holland, but not always. And none of the Kubota dealers could give us anything big enough for what we wanted. The most they could do was like an M4 71. I wanted an M5 or an M6. And so I even tried to call Messick's in Pennsylvania while I'm heading to go literally buy this tractor. And Messick's, they go, well, I said, if you were going to buy a tractor from us, we could not get it to you. You would not get it for probably 10 months. And he said, by the way, we have, what did he say? You remember, Danny, was it 1,200 tractors on back order?
Right, that they don't have anything.
Yeah, and and then you're into the situation too. You buy something from a dealer far away that's not going to be your dealer, and what this was a real learning experience for me. Again, because if you bought cars, this is not an issue. If I buy, a Porsche from Porsche of Atlanta and I take it to the two Porsche dealers in Cincinnati, they're just, yeah, sure, no problem. You buy a tractor from a dealer out of one of your areas, really far away, and you need it serviced, and particularly if you need warranty work, you're in trouble. And and it's a little inbred and shitty about some of that stuff.
Well, remember the old adage: all politics is local.
Yeah, that is definitely true when talking about tractors. So
yes, it is.
So basically, it came down to I want the tractor that's used because I like how it's configured, and because it was configured with everything we want, like big ass tires, fluid, wheel weights. It's got all these options. It's got if you're in a Massey's, it's got fluid in the tires. It's got wheel weights. It's got 3 functions, or no, 2. What do you call the ports in the back of a tractor, Danny?
Quick connects.
No, not quick.
That's what I call them.
Well, yeah. So yeah, they call them functions. So it's got. I'm not because if you use the phrase third function, it's a different thing. But it's got an extra function in the back of the tractor, hydraulic quick connect. So it's got 3 sets of quick connects in the back, and upgraded this high air ride seat, and it comes bucket and all that shit in the cab. But it comes with all this stuff. In particular, I wanted the wheel weights and the fluid and the bigger tires. And a lot of dealers, you couldn't get the bigger tires. I had a dealer tell me, you can't get the bigger tire for the 4700 series tractors. You have to go to a 5700 or 5700 series. Says you can't get them for that tractor. And I'm like, cool story, bro. I'm looking at one right now. Can you get the bigger tires? No. It's like,
speaking about bigger tires on that, did you happen to ask or notice, or you probably just don't know about it, but are there wheel spacers? That's even better for stability on the dual tires in the back.
They're pushed out, but they're not spacers. They're against spacers, and they are pushed out though within the specs of the OEM specs of the tractor. So an 8-foot bush hog. Like I've seen them, they're a lot. You could get this tractor new. The wheels are a lot closer in. The wheels are pushed out or flipped out, and an 8-foot bush hog on either side just barely sticks out. A few inches on either side. So technically, I am technically wider than the wheels, but a couple inches either side. So
how's the air conditioning work in that thing?
Blast, super cold. You got to turn it like at 90 degrees yesterday, 90-some degrees, 93 degrees. I had to turn it down.
Nice. I never had that luxury. Mine were always open cab.
I would doubt that true road maintenance guys would be allowed to run cab tractors because the glass would get broken all the time.
Right. Yeah. No, ours were always open cab, and the heat and the dust and the pollen and
You ever been attacked by bees or a raccoon or some shit animal while you're out there cutting and you hit something?
Gnats. I think 10 billion gnats got me once.
Okay. Like, I don't know, like you go out there, you're trimming along some tree line, all of a sudden Mama Raccoon, jumps up into your cab and suddenly you're kung fu fighting with, with basically, what do you call it? Trash panda, and it's just like,
yeah, I know. Trash panda.
Yeah,
it almost sounds like the DOJ trash pandas.
Yeah. So okay. So with the tractor, we do have there one source of contention I had with the dealer that I did get this tractor from, and we're getting along now better now once you give him a check. We're getting along better now. So basically, I not only did I buy a tractor. So here's what we got. We got the tractor. We got an 8-foot bush hog. We got it came with a bucket, and we bought pallet forks, and they had to be heavier weight pallet forks because if you got the lightweight pallet forks, according to them, with that loader, you'd snap them if you stuck into the ground. So and all of that, and all of that delivered. But the one thing that they were bitching about, they were super whiny about it. And then they went from being super whiny bitchy about it to basically saying we're not going to deal with it, is a front end cutter. So you can get a small bush hog deck kinda to put on the front end on the front end loaders, and you could use them to offset cut, which we need for some of the ranges, for the trails, and also you can also cut high straight, or you can cut offset in the air and turn it. And they weren't going to make any money on this because they had to order it, and like they didn't have one in stock, and they wanted to sell one with a power pack and all this, and they basically got to a point where they were like, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to deal with it. They tried to call another local dealer that sells the ones from Titan or something with power packs, and they never, it just all fell apart. And I knew it was going to fall apart. Well, I knew what I wanted. I knew the cutter. I don't need to do that much serious cutting with the front end loader. I just need enough to maintain our trails, like the sticker bushes and the shit that grows out. Because, we spent all this money on a giant D8 dozer pushing these large trails through. You can get vehicles back there no problem, and that's the whole point. So I need to be able to maintenance these trails. So I'm now going to spend another $8,000 to have the tractor picked up, run down almost 2 states away, to have the third function, which is the hydraulic from WD long, put on the front, and match the mower deck to the hydraulic levels of the front end loader, and then have it all installed, and then have it trucked back. And it doesn't have a power pack, so even the local dealer that wasn't liking, the local dealer that didn't like the front end cutter, they kept moving the goalpost as to why they didn't like it. The first reason was they don't have one in stock, and they can't get them for months. Even the ones with the power packs. And then it was they're dangerous, and you could break your glass, which is a legit concern. You got to be smart, And again, I'm not getting into I'm not reclaiming stuff. I'm just fighting sticker bushes. And then it turned into, we don't know if Massey Ferguson's going to warranty the hydraulic pump system on this tractor if this thing overheats it and damages it. And, at that point, it was, you're just being whiny little bitches, which is fine. That's their prerogative. They don't want to deal with it, so I'm having another dealer. I've been in contact with the president of a company that makes this product, and I even know of a guy who has this exact tractor, and he's a professional land-clearing bush hog business. And he's the same model tractor we have, and he actually goes out there and reclaims land, and he doesn't have any issues in Florida, like of all places. And it's like, yeah, this is not a problem. Just be smart about it. So yeah, so I still got, as much as I've spent, I still have another $8,000 to spend. But what we're doing is we're not going to be without this tractor for weeks. So we've already given money for the expensive third function valve to be shipped. When that's brought in to the dealer, and then the deck comes in, and then very quickly we're like, come up, get the tractor, run it down there, get it all done as soon as you can, and then run it back up, because we need to maintain the range.
Oh yeah, you do.
So
yes, you will. You'll like that bucket in the winter if you ever get snow also.
Yeah, we don't get enough snow. Well, here's the thing too with this tractor. This tractor's so heavy I can't move it. I can't move it with my Tundra. And so but technically need an F-350 with a gooseneck, which I don't have, either one of those. And so I'm not going to be bringing it back to the office to clean the parking lot. So it's, snow at the range is not that big of a deal. We get some, we shoot in it. It's, the only issue that could be an issue, the only thing that's going to happen with snow is if somebody gets stuck and I can use a tractor to pull them out.
Oh, I'll pull them out. Yeah. You need to buy some chains.
Yeah, I need chains for quite a few reasons. So chains or straps, and we're both.
I figure you'd want to plow the snow in front of the clubhouse for the winter shooting.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. The next thing I need to do is I got to figure out a barn.
That you do. You want that covered some way.
Yeah, right now it's sitting in the pit. So.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, enough of your tractor.
I'm
jealous.
Tractor.
I haven't gotten to run it yet.
Yeah, you have not gotten to run it yet.
Well, trust me, when I come down there, I'll be burning those tits off the tires. I'll show you how to run that thing.
Yeah, it's I don't even. I can't even say it. Truberg, Trailberg, Trelleberg, whatever, some kind of weird tire on it, but it's got the whatever most aggressive ag tire I think you can get on
Really?
It. I believe
Nice.
so. Yeah. So I mean, like that's what I want. I didn't want. Like it's a gun range. Like I need traction. I don't care about the grass. The grass.
Did you have to lock in the 4-wheel drive at all?
No. It's I put it in. It's called. They call it. They don't call it automatic 4-wheel drive, but there's the default setting is an A 4-wheel drive, and then you can lock it into full-time 4-wheel drive, and then even after that you can diff lock it.
Right.
But I haven't had a tire even remotely skip or slip or anything, even on wet grass, cutting the grass and going up down these hills. Nothing.
Nice.
So, I mean,
it sure is faster than that old pull behind that you kept taking to the shop, isn't it?
It cuts wider, so yeah, it's less passes, but it's not faster. Like I'm cutting with this tractor, I'm lucky to cut. High speed cutting with this tractor for me right now is 3 miles an hour. And if I'm backing into something real slow and trying not to run into stuff, I'm down to like 1.6 miles an hour. I can move the tractor faster, but I've all just stayed in low ranges because it's so heavy. I don't want to tear up stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing, like 9 miles, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour pulling this bush hog. This tractor's so heavy, you wouldn't even feel this bush hog getting torn apart. And it's a nice bush hog. I mean, two spindle, 3-inch, 3-inch.
Yeah, somebody told you to get that type, didn't they?
Well, actually, I sent you a picture of a single spindle, and you were like, "That's what you want." It's a 7-foot. That was from the new dealer,
right?
And the local dealer, kind of local, they had this one for the same price, and I was like, "This is a better bush hog." It kind of really is what pushed me over the edge to go with them. I was like, "I'll just take this because this shit. They're trying to sell me a real bush hog. They're not. So it was like it's fine." So,
yep.
Anyway, enough about the tractor.
All right. What's next?
I want to ask you a question because we haven't done a podcast in a while because I've been so busy with the freaking tractor. But I'm curious. What's your opinion on this? This happened, I don't know, a week or so ago. They call him the Putin Rasputin guy. He's like the philosophical advisor to Vladimir Putin in Russia. And he's out somewhere outside of Moscow with his daughter, and they had appeared at some kind of public function, festival, something, and they were leaving, and her Land Rover exploded as they're driving away, and he was in a different car. And did you hear about this?
Yes, I did.
And it's like he miraculously survived. She's dead. And, you look at this story, not too many people have heard of this guy. I'd heard of him a long time ago about his political philosophy, which is super interesting. And I'm just like, the Russians are trying to say the Ukrainians killed him. And, there's no military value to killing this guy. If you're able to get agents operating that deep inside of Russia, why would you waste them on this dude? Like, that's because they're going to all get burned.
To me, it's a very simple answer. It's a very simple answer.
It's a simple answer for me, too. The Russians killed him, did this bomb.
Right. So they could blame the Ukrainians to fuel their war effort, in my book.
And so the question is, so here's the question. Was this Putin trying to gin up support by basically making sure the daughter got blown up and not his buddy, and then they could turn around and say it was Ukrainians? Or was this a palace intrigue hit because Putin is apparently, his health is really falling? And, there's obviously battles going on inside of Russia over or concerns over what the future's going to be. And so there could be a cabal of Russians that wanted to take out this dude and they just missed. I mean, I don't know which, Putin's like, well, fuck, we'll just say it was Ukrainians. But then does Putin wake up and go, oh, fuck, who just tried to kill my boy? Like, the media reporting all this is all wrong, and it's not real, and I don't know what real is.
Well, I think it's the answer lies somewhere between A minus and a B plus. It's a little of both. I think that this guy was close to Putin, and Putin wanted it this way to drum up more support. But on the other hand, maybe let's say outside forces figured maybe this guy is too close to Putin, and this is their way of trying to get at him. Like you had said, we don't know what the truth is. Everything is really pretty shoddy reporting. Wherein lies the answer or the truth? Who knows?
In the 1930s, late 20s and early 30s, in pre-war Japan had turned into a pseudo-modern country governmental system, and there used to be there were so many political assassinations in Japan between prime ministers and various ministers and leaders that they used to call it government by assassination. And I just don't know what we don't know here. And I just,
all right,
here's the next logical question. All right. If Putin, well, I can't say it that way. Let me put it this way. Where are the arrests? Typically, if there'd be a hit like this, that would probably surface a network that conducted the hit that would make them more easily detectable by the state intelligence. And so they would start rounding these dudes up. Well, where are all the rest and the frog marches and the headlines? We caught these Ukrainian agents, these traitors, being frog marched into Lublanka, whatever you say, Lublanka prison, which is KGB headquarters and FSB headquarters. And, I haven't seen any reporting of that. And it's like, I don't know what to think. I know that there was another explosion. A guy got killed this week, the past couple days, in occupied Ukraine. And apparently there's video of it. He's driving a car and a security camera on the car explodes. And apparently he survived it long enough to hit the brakes because you see skid marks. But he apparently is a former member of the Ukrainian SVR, which is their state intelligence service. And he defected in the occupied Luhansk territory and became the chief intelligence guy in Luhansk, I think it was. And he got blown up. And the Ukrainians are claiming that their special forces or undercover agents got that guy. But that was within days. That was within days of the bombing in Russia, in Moscow. And it's like, and again, like you're reading that story, and it's like, well, is that the Ukrainians claiming that, oh yeah, that was us, and because they're like, we're going to claim it because it's us. Anything that's happened is good. It'll be our thing. But maybe secretly, maybe Putin blew this guy up, to maybe gin up more.
We'll never know. We'll never know what factions there are. It's. I know it's crazy. It's crazy, but Russia does keep a lid on the internal troubles. It seems. Because they control the press.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, we'll know. I mean, we will. I mean, the Russians are not that good at keeping shit that hidden forever. this is a tip of the hat to the Biden administration, because this actually was effective when the war was about to kick off in Ukraine, and then when it did kick off, the Biden administration decided, and topical as this might be, to declassify, and they didn't say it like this, but the Biden administration started releasing information about inside communications that were going on between Putin and the National Command Authority inside of Russia. Hey, there's going to be a false flag, or they're going to come across the border and do this, or they're going to do that. And it was so accurate, and it was happening so often that it made Putin super paranoid. He was like, who the fuck's talking? It'd be like you and I having conversations in the armory about, whatever we got going on, and then the Biden administration releases, a week later, it's in the New York Times from the Biden administration, from unnamed intelligence sources, and we're like, what the fuck? How are they fucking getting these conversations? And it made him super paranoid, and it really stunted and hurt the Putin invasion plans into Ukraine, because it slowed them down, because they were like, what the hell else do they fucking know? How do they know? Like, we just talked about this yesterday. How the fuck do they know this? Are they tapping our shit? Is it somebody on the inside? Like, that was something that, Biden pulled off.
What a good segue into talking about somebody on the inside, from what my reporting has uncovered.
You talking about the raid on Trump?
Yep.
Well, it is a little bit old news, but I mean, what's the latest this morning?
Well, supposedly, part of the redactions that have been made was someone working at Mar-a-Lago told the DOJ exactly what rooms, what boxes, and what letters where they were at.
There's been rumors of this kind of stuff. Like, people are like, it could be a Secret Service agent. It's because Trump still has Secret Service protection he will have for the rest of his life. And, I don't think we know. I don't know. I mean, I know that the DOJ, like, they had been down there, and Trump took him to the room. They took him to the room. And, it was the DOJ that requested, do me a favor, put a fucking padlock on this goddamn room. Because they took him to the room, and these are the documents that we have here. And the DOJ said, please lock this room. And they went out and got a lock and put on it.
Right. Well, did you hear Lindsey Graham yesterday?
No, I was busy running a tractor on the range. What crazy shit did he say yesterday?
The mainstream media is all over him. Lindsey Graham said, if they arrest or indict President Trump, there will be riots in the streets.
Interesting.
He did say that, and then somebody asked on one of the mainstream channels, say, well, wait a minute. Your news organizations didn't disavow the Summer of Love and all those riots. Why are you now trying to say it's all the Trump supporters are different? They said, well, that it's totally different.
Oh yeah, it's just hypocrisy of the reporting of the headlines. I mean, look,
right.
Do I support riots in the streets? No. Like, I'm the person that advocated, like all the shit that was going on in, was it Seattle or Portland, where they were trying to burn down that federal building? Like, that went on like for months, the battles going on down there, and like, this is why I can't be president, because I literally been like, all right, U.S. Marshals, gun up, go out there, anybody throws a Molotov cocktail in your direction, shoot them fucking down. And, it's like...
Mayor Daley, 1968.
And it's just like, I mean, it's like, riot control is a psychological game. And, you shoot some of these people and the bullshit stops. Or if it doesn't, you keep shooting them. Like, you can't let people burn down, courthouses. And we had an incident here in Cincinnati about 100 years ago where some guy had raped or murdered somebody, and he was being held in the courthouse, and because there was a jail like in the courthouse, And the riots went on for days, and they were trying to burn down the building. And eventually, the local constabulary, they had Gatling guns, and they started opening up on the crowd with Gatling guns. And those Gatling guns were discovered in the courthouse many years later, and a collector here in Cincinnati bought at least one of them. And my point is, it's like, okay, all right, but it's 2022, it's a different time. You can't be gunning down all these, do whatever. And it's like, okay, all right. So look, I'm a man of the times. Like it's not 1870. I'm Marky, and it's 2022, and I have to live in the world of 24-hour media coverage and cell phone videos and whatever. And it's like, okay, all right, I need to change. So here's what I can do. But like, all right, here, okay, U.S. Marshals, here's what we'll do. If you're out there and you're trying to protect the federal building or the courthouse, and people are throwing Molotov cocktails, obviously defend yourselves. But, if you're given a choice between shooting a black guy with a Molotov cocktail and a white guy with a Molotov cocktail, just shoot the white guys first. I do not care. It's fine by me. We have to be political. Okay, shoot the white guys first. It'll still have the same fucking effect. I do not like this mob bullshit. I am not a fan. And, but going back to Lindsey Graham, everyone's all like, they're clutching the media's clutching their pearls now suddenly over riots.
Oh, they are too.
Okay, and one
They
thing
are.
I think the media has just not quite accepted, which is the appeal of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is literally for the right what Barack Obama was for the left. And, if the first black president of the United States had been impeached, or the first black president of the United States had been, indicted, or the first black president had been whatever, it would have been nonstop pearl clutching. Of course, never all these norms, all these, of course, we're a racist country, the first black, of course we're going to fuck with him, right? That would be the argument from sea to shining sea. Every talking head would be making that argument. Well, just because Donald Trump is white, is an old, and he's legit an old white guy. Donald Trump is the first president since probably, I don't know. I mean, you can maybe make an argument for FDR or Teddy Roosevelt because history kind of spun him that way, but definitely since Andrew Jackson, kind of represents the first president, like the first president that represents the working man in a long time, like the average person. Doesn't matter if you're white or you're whatever. You're just a working guy trying to keep your lights on, keep your family fed, keep a roof over your head, and and make it in the world. And Trump is the first president that represents those people in any of our lifetimes. And suddenly now, of course, I mean, it's hard to make that argument for Trump and have people not somehow make it, turn it against me or turn it against his racism or white supremacist or all this other kind of shit. It's like, okay, that's not really true. It's how do I say this? Trump is
Trump.
the best. No. Trump is Trump. Okay, all right. I can define Trump more easily by saying what he is not. Does the Bush family represent the working man?
No.
Yeah, all those Bushes, right? Okay, all those. Do any of the Clintons represent the working man?
Nope.
No. We can go on and on with this. We can name, the Kennedys. Do the Kennedys really, the Kennedy family, all of these Kennedys, do they really represent the working class today? They pretend they do. They've lived off that for a long time, but that hasn't been true ever. It wasn't true. It wasn't true, in 1960, really, and it definitely with the descendants, it never been true. Donald Trump has more in common as a billionaire New York developer, which is unbelievable. I can say this, has more in common with the dudes that I hired to run bulldozers on the John 1911 range than any person that's been in public office on a national level in 100 years. And
I agree.
and suddenly, this is the guy that all of a sudden now everybody's coming at with long knives. Like, okay. I mean, if Donald Trump's indicted or arrested, he won't be. He can't be. There won't be and he can't be. But yeah, there could be riots, there could be disturbances, just like with Barack Obama. Nobody would have done this with Barack Obama. I mean, look, Eric Holder, at the very least, has done everything that not Andrew. Who's the guy that worked for Trump that just got convicted of contempt of Congress? Steve Bannon.
Yeah, Steve Bannon.
Eric Holder did a lot worse things than Steve Bannon ever did. Eric Holder was never prosecuted.
Nope.
Eric Holder was never referred for criminal charge. I don't know if he's referred, but the Justice Department never pursued criminal charges against Eric Holder. And it's just like, well, was Eric Holder the first black attorney general?
He might have been.
Or was Loretta Lynn? I can't remember, but. It's like there was no way Freeze used to be like, Eric Holder's going to jail. And I'm like, there is no way Eric Holder's going to jail. There's no way Eric Holder's going to jail. I said, you got to understand the politics. Just like there's no way Hillary Clinton was ever going to go to jail. And
now the news, real quickly, now the news is saying what Hillary did nowhere near matched what Trump did. Hillary was a saint. She's a goddess. Everything that she did with the smashing of the laptops, all the phones. That was all fine because there wasn't really any information on like Trump had. This is the mainstream media saying this.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's where I can just cut the mainstream media in half. Okay. The argument you can make constitutionally, why is a president of the why can you not sue a sitting president? A sitting president, can't be sued personally.
Because of qualified immunity.
Well, no, it's what it is because, a sitting president, the authority of the executive branch, and you got to realize this, and this is like Constitution 101 type stuff, the authority of the executive branch. You can make he's like, you don't respect the man, but you respect the office. And people make those kind of arguments all the time, and that is true. Like I don't much care for the current pope. I could say something really bad about him, or I could say something very Catholic bad about him, like we know John Paul. Okay, but the authority of the pope in the church structurally goes from God through the Pope, personally through him, not the office, through him personally out to the greater church. The Constitution is very similar, and I hate to use the Pope as a parallel, but the chief executive of the United States has plenary power in the Constitution to conduct things in certain ways. For example, the President of the United States himself, him or herself, can conduct secret negotiations with foreign countries that he doesn't have to disclose to Congress. He can make decisions on policy on how things operate within the executive branch through him personally that he doesn't have to disclose to Congress. He himself personally. Now, Congress has the power of the purse, and also the Senate has the advise and consent. So Congress, and this is also why, going back to the Obamacare stuff, you remember constitutionally, tax policy and tax laws and bills that become a tax technically need to originate in the House. This was done on purpose. The power of the purse, origination has to start in the House. The power to advise and consent with the rest of the government sits with the Senate. And so, they can, if President Trump wants to bring in Marky as the Secretary of State, I have to go through a hearing, cabinet level hearing, and they can ask me questions and they can approve or deny me. But, so there's some checks and balances there. But the thing is, the Senate cannot tell me what I can do as Secretary of State. They can certainly cajole me and manipulate me and affect me with money and other things. But they cannot make the president, and at the time it's Donald Trump, the president has, through his personal authority, and it was true with Barack Obama, to conduct operations and run the executive branch. And so this idea that all these top secret documents that supposedly Trump has, which, look, 10 years ago, FBI's coming out and saying something to be like, man, I'm going to wait and see what the evidence is. The FBI right now has such little credibility in any of this that it's like, I don't take it at face value. I don't trust the FBI Washington headquarters. I just don't. That's not me. That's not a reflection of me or the listener. That's because of the FBI. This is their fault. This isn't my fault. Okay? But, Donald Trump can walk, when he was president, or Barack Obama or Joe Biden, when it comes to classified materials are classified within the executive branch. And so when Hillary Clinton was classifying materials or declassifying materials or handling classified materials or mishandling classified materials, she's the Secretary of State, advised and consented by the Senate. Her authority to deal with classified material, declassify material, or change up the classification of material descends directly from the personal authority of Barack Obama when Barack Obama's president. It's not the office of the president. It's the way the Constitution, it's through him personally. And so if Barack Obama or Donald Trump or Joe Biden walked out to a podium today and they said, we have aliens and they have 25 fingers and toes and 2 brains, that could be the most classified thing in the U.S. government spectrum of classified material. If the president comes out and says, we have this, and just by virtue of saying it, now declassifies it because it fell out of his or her mouth, you can't prosecute that guy. He's the chief executive. Through him personally, he can literally classify or declassify on his authority just by saying the words. And, there is apparently a law that was passed that, the handling of presidential records with the National Archives because of Nixon and all of this and all of that. And that's all a real cool story, bro. It really is. But that hasn't been tested constitutionally. That hasn't been tested before the Supreme Court. And here, they pass laws all the time that don't actually meet constitutional muster or standards. And here's one that happens all the time that people on our side of the aisle talk about. Because when they mention this law, they're talking out of their ass. We hear it all the time from guys on the right, especially guys that don't know anything. They talk about posse comitatus. You hear, you can't use the U.S. Army to enforce laws in the United States. There's a law. Yeah, there is a law, posse comitatus. It's never been tested constitutionally. It's never been tested by the Supreme Court. And guess what would happen? It would not meet constitutional standards. It would be struck down. If the president wants to send the 101st Airborne Division into Portland to do whatever he wants to do to protect that building, especially a federal building, there ain't shit that fucking anybody can do about it. Just like when President Kennedy sent the 82nd or 101st Airborne Division to walk little black girls in the schools, or was that Eisenhower that did that? That's little black girls so they could walk. I mean, the fucking army showed up to do that. Posse comitatus. Cool story, bro. You know what the fuck you're talking about. You cannot prosecute Donald Trump on mishandling classified information because literally you go before the Supreme Court and you can say he's a former president and he had this material at Mar-a-Lago. Okay, fine. All right. Prove to me, it was okay for him to have it when he was president down there. Maybe it wasn't secured well enough. Maybe he's sloppy. I can make that argument. But here's the thing. If it's legal for him to have it the day he's president and it's still down there, you could make the argument to take it back. But you can't make the argument now because it's down there that he's now in violation of the law. For the one reason, you could make the argument with Hillary Clinton because she does not have plenary authority under the Constitution to classify or declassify within the executive branch. The president as an individual has this authority, and the most you can do is take it from him. The Constitution the Supreme Court will never allow Donald Trump to be convicted on any of this. The only thing you could convict Donald Trump on would be if he intentionally was giving this stuff to a foreign adversary and committing treason.
Of which he didn't.
Well, you're already starting to see that. Like, well, the woman who the director of national intelligence is going to start to do a security assessment of which
right.
Happens.
I've seen that today.
Yeah. Well, the security assessments always happen. If there's a breach or whatever, people go in and like, okay, what was released? Do we know what was released? Do we know what was compromised? Do we know what could have been compromised that maybe, it's in the realm of they could have gotten this. We don't know they got this. We have no proof they got this, but they could have gotten it. So they have to start looking at all of it. Like maybe there's names of foreign agents or intelligence methods. And like this could be compromised. We may have to stop. You can do all these intelligence assessments, and you can already see the talking with some of these media companies where they're like, well, there was a foreign national that was a fake Russian agent that was down at Mar-a-Lago golfing with Trump, and like turns out she might have been an intelligence asset for Russia. The Department of Justice or whoever. There was cameras set up on that door, and they were watching people go in and out of that door where the documents were, and they don't think it was secured, and we don't know what was going on. All those could be true, and all of that would be very, 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 very bad. But you can already see that they're trying to move the ball now to somehow figuring out if Trump somehow compromised the national secrets to foreign intelligence officers or agents, because he cannot be prosecuted for mishandling classified information. He simply cannot, because they could never make the argument that on the airplane, literally at 11:59 a.m. when he's on the fucking airplane flying down the Mar-a-Lago, that he doesn't stand above the boxes and go, "Ipsnay, declassify A. This is now good A." They can't. Right. They can never prove that he never did that. And you could even make the argument: does the president have to do that? Some people will be like, well, it's a law or whatever. But like when the president walks up to the microphone and starts talking about the 25-toed alien, did the president, before that happened, he have to fill out a document and issue an executive order that like we're going to talk about the alien bodies now? No, he doesn't. He walks up there and goes, aliens, and it's now public. It's public domain. If Joe Biden walks up to the podium and goes, aliens, and then John1911 does a story on aliens, we can't be prosecuted for publishing or mishandling classified information, because by virtue of the chief executive uttering it publicly, it is no longer classified. He doesn't have to sign a piece of paper. He doesn't have to get permission. He doesn't have to run it around with all of these people and all these department heads and get all this permission, because every piece of permission and authority that exists within the executive branch flows through that person individually. And nobody's talking about this in the mainstream media. You have to get it from John1911. This is Constitution 101 stuff. And going back to Hillary Clinton, why was Hillary Clinton in trouble with the mishandling of classified information? It's very simple. Hillary Clinton was not president. Hillary
Correct.
Clinton was Secretary of State. The reason Hillary Clinton was never going to go to jail isn't because she was Secretary of State. People don't understand this. Hillary Clinton was never going to go to jail because she is the former First Lady. And so by virtue of her position to the former chief executive, we are not, as a country, going to put former First Ladies into prison. It is not going to happen because you end up in a scenario where you're now taking political revenge on your political adversaries when you're in charge. Hillary Clinton was never, ever, ever going to jail because she was a First Lady.
Well, that's exactly what the Democrats are doing to Trump. It's political revenge. They don't want him to run in 24. It's so simple. And so they're trying to get anything they can, which would bar him from running. That's what this is.
I don't understand why.
Because I'll tell you why I think why. Trump was still Trump when he was president during his term. But the way they treated him with 2 impeachments, this, that, if he was to come back, which I hope he does, but if he is to come back, it will be a no holds barred, and all these people that threw the screws to him know that their time will be limited. And Trump with his payback machine would be something to see.
But you know what? The reality is, that's all true. But then we have to talk about reality. The reality is that that our government and our Constitution is set up that we have divided government for a reason. They're
Right.
separate but equal branches of government for a reason. The president cannot make Congress do shit.
No, but
Congress can't make
it would
the
be
president-
4 years of hell for him.
Congress can't make the president do shit. Now, Congress can fuck with his administration. They can fuck with his staff. They can fuck with the West Wing. They can't make them do shit. President can't make the Supreme Court do shit. None of them can make each other really do shit. I mean, as a matter of fact, you know, I mean, the authority of the Supreme Court can't make Congress do shit. I mean, the only thing that the Supreme Court can do is overturn a law, say it's unconstitutional. I mean, you know, but Congress can pass a law, and if it's constitutional, the Supreme Court has to basically rule in favor of it.
like Biden's cash for votes with the college credit.
Well, that's never going to happen.
No, it'll never pass muster.
It's just, I mean, it's the whole news cycle on that is just completely fake. But you know, let's go back for a minute. Like, okay, let's talk about other completely fake. Liz Cheney lost her primary in Wyoming. I always have to say Jackson Hole, Wyoming, because I always get Montana and Wyoming because I cross the border whenever I'm up there. So, like a day or two after she loses, she magically has this political action committee formed, and she's now got this PAC, and the PAC's entire job is to go after Trump allies and associates. Because, you know, and turns out she didn't spend all of her campaign money trying to hold on to her seat.
Right.
And now she's got all this money, and you know, so now she's going to be like, who's the Wilson guy and
Rand Paul?
No,
not Rand Paul.
No. The Republicans that formed it's not the Log Cabin Republicans. That's the gay Republicans. The Lincoln Project. They formed the Republicans that came out against Trump, and they raised like 85, or hundreds of millions of dollars.
George Conway.
Yeah, George Conway, Wilson, and there's another one. And it turns out it was a giant grift. Then there was all this weird shit going on with one of the dudes is gay, and he's basically down low trying to hit on all these people while he's working there, and it all kind of exploded. They're apparently still trying to function. Well, I guess Liz Cheney's like, yeah, I guess I'm going to go in that business. She's doing the John Kasich card. Like, if I just keep fighting against Trump, maybe one day the mainstream Republican Party will just pick me at they'll just make me president or vice president at the convention. And meanwhile, I'm going to get paid. because Liz Cheney's never going back to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She's lived her whole life in Washington because she grew up there because her daddy worked in Washington, and she ain't ever going home. I'm like, that whole story about her is fake. The whole thread line about Liz Cheney's fake.
Well, she's a carpetbagger.
She's turned into one, and it's just like, but no one talks about that. It's like she's a viable whatever political force, like, it's
No,
like
she's not.
It's
she's
like
done.
Hey, Fox News does this too. Every time Fox News talks about I can't remember. I can't even remember the dude's name. Trump's vice president. That's how inconsequential he is. Trump's vice president from Indiana, Mike Pence. Every time Fox News mentions Mike Pence, does a story on Mike Pence, has someone on their television channel that either used to work for Mike Pence or worked for Mike Pence or associated with Mike Pence or anything with Mike Pence, is completely fake news. I have a greater chance of polling at CPAC for Republican votes than Mike Pence does. And that is not an exaggeration.
Oh, he's done.
I mean, but the fact that they're even shuffling him around like he's even worth listening to. I'm not being mean towards Mike Pence, but this is Fox News just fucking lying to everybody. Like, why are we fucking... That's why I can't stand these channels. Because, like, if I turn on the news, I want to hear real news. And it's like, I don't want to see 7 minutes of somebody talking about Mike motherfucking Pence. It's like seeing 7 minutes of them saying, what are the chances of Marky from John1911 is going to run in 2024? It's like, this is a waste of everybody's time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, I'm anxious to see how this plays out. Then a Republican judge today ordered the DOJ to do something within 2 days, and she ordered an overseer to go to comb through the documents. I didn't get all of it. I just probably got to look into that more. But that's going on. And of course, the mainstream media had to say how she was a Trump-appointed judge. That's the only reason this is going on.
That's okay. Fox News says that the judge that signed the warrant for Mar-a-Lago is a Jeffrey Epstein fucking lawyer.
Right. Exactly. So it's what a beehive nest just got kicked.
Well, it's called a special master. If like,
that's what it is. I couldn't think of the word. Thank you.
I have more lawyers than I have friends. So, basically, like if I have communication with an attorney and it's privileged communication, and the FBI comes in and raids my attorney's office and scoops up all this information, that fucking shit better not end up in New York Times. And so the court, what they do is they don't want the parties that are looking to prosecute me to see all of this stuff or all the other from other clients that are privileged and confidential and could be harmful to us and violate our constitutional rights. So the court appoints a special master, a disinterested third party that is given permission to take all of this shit, go through all of it and say, you can have this, FBI, you can have this, you can't have this. Like, for example, like, you and I talked about this in a group chat. Look, I like Donald Trump. I don't agree with everything. I'm going to give the typical, like, qualification for Donald Trump. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with all his tactics. But generally speaking, in the grand scheme of things, Donald Trump moves in a direction that I believe in. And, but with that being said, when they go down there and they raid all the shit out of his business or out of his stuff at Mar-a-Lago, okay, how long until it comes out that, Donald Trump has been given money to some other woman named Candy Apples or Twin Peaks or some shit? You know what I mean? Like, the chances are pretty high. You know what I mean? Like, because he's right. Donald motherfucking Trump. And, it's like, oh, here we go again. All this slimy shit's going to start coming out because now they got access to, look, FBI. I'm of two minds. I could make the argument, let's see the warrant. Let's see the affidavit that's supporting the warrant, which is completely redacted. And it's like, you dismiss me with this bullshit. We don't want to give up methods and whatever and sources and our prosecutorial theory. It's like, whatever. And then, the other side of the argument is they took his passports. Bitch, fuck you. Like, there's literally, if you're an FBI, you fucking drop those motherfuckers on the floor. It wasn't like they grabbed all the boxes and ran out of the building and they opened a box and they were like, oh, fuck, passports. They took the passports. They knew they took the passports. And, okay, fun fact, they said passports. Why does Donald Trump have more than one passport? Do you know, Danny?
No, I really don't.
Well, I can tell you.
Thank you.
One passport was canceled. It was expired. It has the holes punched in it. So Donald Trump has a personal passport. Okay? So he has a personal passport. But Donald Trump, as the chief executive in the United States government, okay? Again, going back through him personally, the authority and power of everybody inside of the executive branch of the U.S. government when he was president flows through him as an individual, not through the office. The office has to be occupied by an individual as specified in the Constitution and the Electoral College. It's a person. Donald Trump is the chief diplomat of the United States. He has a diplomatic passport. He is the chief diplomat of the United States. He has a special. You ever see diplomats traveling around the world? Like the American diplomat passport is a different color than your passport at home, and he has one of those because he's the chief executive of the United States, and he travels when he enters a country. And again, a president enters a country. It's not like they could be like, oh, come on in, you're president, whomever, just come on in. There still is a bureaucracy, and they'd be like, okay, we gotta, like every Secret Service, there's diplomatic pouches and diplomatic immunity, but you still have to know who's coming in. They don't give, if they have to process the president's travel documents to come into a country, they don't get Donald Trump's personal passport. They get his government presidential diplomatic passport. If it becomes, you want a fucking passport? Here it is, this one. And if it gets out and gets copied and gets whatever, don't matter, we'll give you another one. That's what that was.
But what gets me is just a couple quick questions.
Well, no, wait a minute. I need to make a point.
Well, make your point.
Okay. Why take the passport? Okay, the government passport is government business when he's president. You could even make an argument, however stupid. Well, we want to look at his passport and see his travel records and immigration stamps that he's been engaged in since he's left. Maybe he's gone over to Monaco. He had coffee at a table where there might have been an agent.
Yeah.
You could literally, like some bullshit lawyer, I could make this argument. But it's like, all right, then why'd you take the fucking presidential passport? Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. All of this sucks. I wouldn't have said this 10 years ago, but right now, I don't believe dick with the fucking FBI. And it pains me to say that. Because I have
they're
respect for
weaponized.
them.
They're obviously weaponized. The whole DOJ is.
It's so fucking terrible.
With the Republican in Congress's call to say if they take over the House, then the Republicans calling, fuck you, we're going to defund you, we're going to just make one different agency or whatever. That's why they're doing everything they can to get at Trump and the Republicans, and we're what did Biden say? We're some neo-fascists now the other day. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just they're doing everything they can because the entrenched bureaucrats know that the clock's ticking against them. So they're trying to do everything they can just to remain in power. They're always cutting down the Trump people, any of his supporters, anything to do with the Republicans, this or that. I think that the Democrats are very much worried that their day of reckoning is around the corner.
I mean, possibly. We'll have to see we can make all these arguments about what we think is going to happen in November and what's going to happen in 2024, but, it's a long time away, and, it's like it could just be whatever it's going to be. I mean, things change. Like, it's already tightening up. So, I don't know. I mean,
Well, no, I don't think it's tightening up. I think that's just the mainstream media throwing out, wishing and hoping. One Democrat in New York won one seat. They don't say anything about the other 9 Republicans that have won seats, just the one Democrat.
okay, well, also think about it like this. I mean, okay, like going back to the raid on Trump. The reason why Hillary Clinton was never going to go to jail is because she was a first lady. Okay? And fucking with her is fucking with Bill, and that's political revenge. She should have stayed out of politics if she didn't want to be fucked with. She became a Secretary of State, which you can fuck with because you're not the president. But as First Lady gets special shine because the first spouse, because fucking with you is fucking with the president, and as a country we don't like to fuck with former presidents. When the FBI started bugging Donald Trump's campaign, nobody's talking about this today. Remember, Donald Trump came out and said they're tapping my wires.
Yes, they do.
They all said, "Oh, you."
They laughed at him.
They laughed. Everybody laughed at him. Turns out, oh no, it was true. It was true. And then it came out. That that Barack Obama was briefed on it. Vice President Joe Biden was briefed on it. Because it had gone up to the West Wing. Like, we're having an issue here. It looks like a counterintelligence operation. It could be foreign adversaries involved. We're going to be conducting surveillance on a presidential campaign. There is no way that we're in the Justice Department or the FBI that we're going to do this and not run it and not talk to somebody, because it's like that movie, like in War Games, in the opening scenes of War Games, and the missileers are in the silo, and it's and the guy's like, the button. Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to kill 60 million people until I get someone on the goddamn phone. It's like, there is no way that they were going to tap and do this shit to a presidential campaign without somehow talking to someone in the West Wing. And then, so the chief of staff of the West Wing is alerted. The chief of staff, there's no way he's not going to be like, holy shit balls. And he immediately walks into the Oval and goes, Mr. President, we got to have a conversation. Let's go down to the SCIF. The director of the FBI is coming over, and the director of national intelligence. And I suggest you bring the vice president in, because we're all going to have a conversation about what the fuck is going on, because this is political as well as criminal and intelligence. This is known. It took forever for it to leak out. It took, it turns out that, Obama did know, and turns out Biden did know. And when Biden was running for president, they tried to refloat the idea, oh yeah, Biden knew about the spying on Trump when he was vice president. He knew, and he lied. They tried to refloat that, and, Biden's now president. Suddenly now, they're going to go down to a former president's house, and they're going to raid this fucking guy. And nobody called anybody in the West Wing? I'm
not going for it.
There is no way. Now, hold on. Is it possible that Joe Biden didn't know? Certainly it's possible. But if that's true, if it is true that Joe Biden, again, talking about the president, the authority executive and power of the executive branch flows through Joe Biden as a person, him as an individual, not the office. It's him. The authority for people to conduct these kinds of raids, conduct this type of surveillance, to violate constitutional rights, and to get courts to sign up, write these affidavits, it all flows through his personal authority. And the media, the media is telling me right now, you're telling me that Joe Biden didn't know, was never even told, or no one in the West Wing was told? You're telling me that the chief of staff of the White House didn't get a call? Be like, by the way, something's up? Maybe he didn't get a call. Or if the chief of staff knew, he didn't tell the president? If this was a different president, if this was a Republican president, people would be screaming to high heaven, the president's not in charge, or everybody's lying. But because it's Joe Biden and he's literally the drool master, they don't touch it. They don't touch it. Because this is a political problem. This is not a criminal problem. This is not a foreign intelligence problem. This isn't a national security problem. This is a political problem. Because just like we don't put Hillary Clinton in jail because she's a former first lady, suddenly now you're going to conduct a raid on a former sitting president of the United States. That's a political problem. Because the Constitution is set up so we don't do that. And you tell me that the president of the United States wasn't informed or even given a hint?
Well,
and the media is walking by this like it's like they're whistling past the graveyard, and everybody asks ourselves every day who's in charge, but this doesn't get brought up on who's in charge. Fox News doesn't even bring this up.
I don't think that the Biden administration realized how much they have woken up Trump supporters. I don't think they know the magnitude of it. But I think it'll be felt in the midterms.
I think they were scared initially. I think, you know what? I am not. I can't see the future. I don't know about the midterms. I don't know if this is going to get the Republicans to come out to the polls, or if the abortion ruling is going to get the Democrats to come out of the polls. I think we're going to have to wait and see. We're in new territory here completely with the way everything's functioning, and until it all happens, nobody knows what's going to happen. You can guess. You can guess, but you don't know.
I'm gonna make my prediction, like I did with the Liz Cheney thing. The Republican voters, because of what's happened to Trump, will come out in droves, and there will be a double-digit Republican majority in the House.
Well, they're already talking that it won't be, but okay. But let's say that Republicans...
Well, sure, they're talking. They're trying to control the narrative.
Of course they are. But okay, let's just say... hey, 6 months ago, you would have said the Republicans are going to control the Senate.
I still think they're going to get the Senate by 1 seat. There's my prediction.
6 months ago, everybody said it could be as many as 5.
Well, 1 seat for the Republicans in the Senate, and I'm thinking 14 in the House.
That's fine. 6 months ago, everybody said it was as many as 5.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, and if it's not 5, do you know whose fault it is?
Mine. I'll take the rap.
Donald Trump.
Well, no, Donald Trump is going to be. He's not the bellwether in this. Donald Trump is the source. He's the cause in this, because people are pissed off of what happened to a former sitting president. People are pissed off about the borders. People are pissed off about inflation. All those factors.
People were pissed off about the borders and and economic issues when he was president.
I understand that, but not as bad. We also weren't paying $4 a gallon for gas.
Oh, that's fine. I know. Your microphone may have gone a little bit down. Who did Donald Trump endorse for Senate in Pennsylvania?
Dr. Oz.
Probably not the best candidate, right? Dr. Oz is underwater against a guy who's had a stroke and can't talk. Who did Donald Trump endorse for Senate in Ohio?
That's your home state. I don't know.
That would be hillbilly elegy guy. Okay,
and he's leading in the polls.
He should be blowing it. I think some polls have him underwater. He's against Tim Ryan, who's a populist, but he's a terrible candidate. There's all kinds of people that would have been much better, but Donald Trump chose him because he's famous. Why did Donald Trump choose the fucking Pennsylvania guy? Because he's famous. Who did Donald Trump endorse for a Senate candidate in Georgia?
Herschel Walker.
The football player. Because he's famous. Donald Trump has a horrible, horrible, horrible record on picking candidates.
Wyoming?
Major candidates.
Wyoming, Liz Cheney, he picked a nobody.
Wyoming, he did not. He
endorsed her.
No, wait, whoa. He did not pick this woman out of a field of candidates. She was the leader. She was the most famous candidate, so he endorsed her because he didn't give two shits about her. He wants to take out Liz Cheney. He would have endorsed me for the fucking seat. Donald Trump is terrible at this. And Donald Trump's one of his bane weaknesses is the the Republicans keep putting up for Senate seats they're picking them based off of some kind of weird pseudo Hollywood public name recognition, not personal agency or quality. Okay, all right. Let me circle back and let me explain it to you like this, Danny. It's 2025, all right? And there's another mass shooting by a crazy person who everyone knew was crazy, but we don't do anything until crazy ends up in prison and kills a bunch of people using some kind of gun that isn't politically correct in 2025, in the summer of 2025. Or let's say it's spring of 2026, coming up onto the midterms. And we have the same calls we have to do more for gun control, right? You know as well as I do, Dr. Oz and the guy from Ohio, the hillbilly elegy guy, are going to fold like cheap suits on gun control. Do those sound like MAGA Republicans to you?
No.
Then why in the fuck does Donald Trump keep doing this?
Well, to his credit, with Walker, Oz, and the guy in Ohio, maybe he likes the odds of the name recognition just to control the Senate if they get the Republicans in there, which they will by one. But on issues, you bring up a good point. I don't think they'll fold. I think they'll fall in line more so with the hard right wing once they get there. I really do.
Yeah, you can make that argument because in Ohio we lived with these rhino type of guys forever. They'll fall in line. Yeah, Todd Portman, who is the current senator that we're finally getting rid of, he'll vote for things that I want him to vote for and vote against things that I want him to vote for if it's not close. But if it's close...
He goes with the wind, huh?
Uh-huh. Just, this... How do you end up with guys like John Kasich, who people magically have now forgotten about, but he basically tortured the country for 2 years? These rhino bullshit people, and Donald Trump doesn't ever want to spend the intellectual power to actually read about records and political philosophies of who these people are. Donald Trump picks candidates like he reads names out of the TV guide, and he's terrible at this. You have to give the odds. Yeah, you have to give Donald Trump a fucking list and make him choose from a list of qualified people because he is terrible at this. He's terrible at this, and it pisses me off to no end. I sometimes wish Donald Trump would shut the fuck up on this stuff and, let the MAGA fucking people choose the fucking candidates, and then he can come and endorse them. But, you stick a microphone in Donald Trump's face and he doesn't know the answer, he'll fucking make up an answer. And he'll read the TV guide and he'll go, oh yeah, Herschel, should you name this person you never heard of or this person you never heard of or Herschel Walker? And he'll be like, oh, that Herschel Walker, yeah, I know that name. He's a good guy. I know him. I think he might have been on one of my TV shows. He'd make a good candidate because I know the name Herschel Walker and I don't know these other people's names. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
I think Walker's going to win. That's my 51st.
I pray Walker wins.
Look who he's running against.
Well, why isn't he 15 points ahead?
He's ahead. Trust me. There's other factors that you're not factoring in. Georgia tightened up their voter laws, which they did, and you have to show ID, you have to match signatures, this or that. If there was, I'm not saying there is, but if there was any fraud in Georgia, let's just say there's measures in place to stop it. That's why I think Walker is going to pull out of Georgia. And then they look in Florida. You got Rubio against that ultra liberal.
Okay. Number one. Val Demings is a serious political operative. Val Demings
won't beat Rubio.
No, wait. That's not my point. Val Demings is not a moron. Valerie Demings should be the vice president of the United States right now. You know
She's
why?
done.
Well, no, fuck. Okay, all right. I got to rein you the fuck in. Okay, Val Demings is a politician from Florida. She's a former police officer. Okay, and she is a force to be reckoned with within her party. The only reason Val Demings was not chosen to be vice president over this fucking empty suit out of California is because Val Demings was a cop. You realize that, right?
Yes.
She is a hell of a lot better at this than what we've got up there as number 2. She should be vice president, which means she should be president. Now, to back up off of that, no one said Val Demings was going to beat Rubio. I didn't say that. It's funny because you're talking about voter ID laws and tightening up the voter rolls from all these dead people voting in Georgia, but you ain't gone anywhere near fucking Pennsylvania. As you know, that shit's dirty as fuck in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is the dirtiest voting state in the nation, I think.
I think it next to maybe New York, but
Right.
Dr. Oz, if you can add a 2 or 3% lead through the bullshit that goes on in Pennsylvania, and Dr. Oz isn't 10 points ahead or 8 points ahead or at least 5 points ahead, he's done. He needs basically the only way Dr. Oz wins Pennsylvania is if the stroke guy basically loses it. It's his to win. I've said this on this podcast before, and I get tired of it. I get so tired of Pennsylvania. I'm sick. Hey, look, I'm nothing against people in Pennsylvania personally, but I've said politically every 4 years. I sit and I watch television, and I wait for the polls to come in and the electoral votes to come in, and somehow today, magically, Pennsylvania is going to go Republican, and I am sick of it. I'm so sick of it. It's just the theft and the bullshit that goes on in Pennsylvania. It's disgusting. And I think Trump won Pennsylvania. It was a miracle. I think part of the reason why I think Trump won in 2016 was the left didn't take him as seriously as they thought. So their get out the vote / theft programs were not up. They weren't working that hard that night. And in 2020, them motherfuckers was out working hard. And right now in 2022, them motherfuckers are going to be out working hard. And Dr. Oz is, I'm super worried about Oz in Pennsylvania, and I'm super worried about football boy in fucking Georgia.
Walker win.
I hope so. I fucking hope so.
I keep telling you, today he'll be our 51st. You'll see. That's Danny's prediction.
Okay, all right. You know what? Do I think Walker wins before Dr. Oz wins? Yes.
Yes,
because
that's where I'm going on.
Because my arguments about Val Demings in Florida also apply to whoever the guy is in Pennsylvania. I see his face. John Fetterman, whatever his name is.
Fetterman, yeah.
Yeah, he is a force to be reckoned with. The only reason he is in trouble is because he had a stroke. But anyway, we've been going super long, and we've done a ton of politics, so we missed an episode. I want to do some other stuff and go ahead and get out of this if you don't mind, unless there's something you want to
No, that sounds good.
In some industry news, in gun industry news, there's a rumor. I saw a picture on the internet that apparently Springfield is going to start making 2011s, double stack 1911s, and that's going to be super interesting. And
Nice.
I thought that was super cool. And also, we had a guy come in on social media talking about because I posted a picture of a guy who visited our range and he had a Walther. Was it a Creed? What was that gun? The Walther. It was some cheap Walther gun, and the Walther name, and people are like, "It's a great, great brand, great name," and it's like, okay, fine. And some guy came in and was like, "I bought a Walther PPK, and this is like this great gun, and I had nothing but trouble with it, and like everyone says it's," and I'm like, who told you that Walther PPKs are good guns? They're not good guns. The Walther PPK is the Donald Trump senatorial candidate of guns. People know what a Walther.
Nice analogy.
It's
nice
true.
Analogy.
People know what a Walther PPK is because of those James Bond movies. It's a name they recognize. If you put a bunch of guns in front of Donald Trump and you're like, which is the best gun? He'd be like, Walther PPK, James Bond, License to Kill. That's the best gun. And it's like, fuck me. Walther PPK has always been garbage. It's always been junk. So I am calling today for Hollywood and for the Ian Fleming franchise going forward that they need, because they tried to make the HK-VP9, the James Bond gun, in one of the movies. It was all right. They need to make the new Sig Sauer P210 Carry single stack 9mm as the new James Bond 1911. It's a classy gun.
I thought for sure you were going to call for Wilson.
No, I'm sorry, Wilson, but Wilson. Now, you know what? No. The P210 Carry is the James Bond spy gun. The Wilson EDC X9L is the Special Forces rescue team that has to come in and save James Bond's ass when they have to come in guns a-blazing. Yeah, there it is. But
did I tell you? You know, everybody knows that I'm a baseball umpire from college down to T-ball. Well, I got a call the other day. This is the joke I was telling you about. And a true story, though. I got a call the other day. Somebody over at the 8th grade junior high umpire didn't show, and I happened to be off. Would I please come out and work the game? Well, it's been a long, long time since I've done 14-year-olds. So between the innings, one kid, now these are 14-year-olds, one kid goes to the other, he goes, hey, I can't find my glove. So there's these two other kids standing there, and the one kid goes, well, what's it look like? The other kid says, his mother's box.
Oh my God.
14 years old with flaps.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
14 years old.
Oh my God. Well, there's the title of the podcast.
Where's my glove?
Oh.
I told you you'd like the, how do they come up with this stuff at 14 years old?
When we were 14, dude, if
I know you're thinking of a baseball glove laying there on the field and associated with other things. I just know you are.
God, I mean, like if my mother heard the way we talked when we were 14, she might have taken us out to the back 40 and put a bullet in the back of our heads like a rabid dog.
You know, but what was funny is I'm biting a hole in my lip, not trying to laugh. You know, it's like, shit, that was a good one.
Yeah, because you have to be.
I have to be in control, sort of.
A role model and a objective, member, and you can't be laughing. Yeah, but oh my God, that shit's so funny.
I thought you would like that one.
It reminds me a lot of the drill instructors. Like, people don't realize this, but drill instructors in the military, when people are going through the basic school or basic training, they're generally fucking hilarious. They are fucking hilarious, and it's a lot of that stuff. But I mentioned rabies. Did you see the video of the woman getting attacked by the rabid fox?
No, I did not.
This is in Ithaca, New York, and it's like the argument for guns, and you gotta kind of think about, like, in the old days, like in frontier world, you worry about bears, you worry about Indians, maybe you worry about wolves or some more apex level predators. But like some rabid animal that just won't fucking give it up, it can hurt you bad. And this woman, this is grandmother, this fox, it's on security camera, it comes running at her, it bites her or tries to bite her, she kicks it, and then it comes lunging back at her again, she's kicking it and hitting it, and then at one point it's hanging off of her arm. Is just biting her hand, and she swings. I mean, like, she's beating the fuck out of this fox, but this fox is kind of beating the fuck out of her, and I'm sure she had to have a bunch of rabies shots. But, it's like, this idea, a lot of animals that people think could never hurt them because of size difference have never actually tried to fight with an animal. Like, a raccoon would tear your shit up.
Yeah, well.
I mean, it'll tear your shit up. I mean, a raccoon... and this is like, as you get older and you have experience, like I'm a firm believer in extreme aggression in dealing with stuff, because I do not like to let shit get the upper hand. Like, it's a policy I have. Like, I've talked about it on a podcast before. Like, if some little animal even looks at me fucking sideways, it's dead. I love animals, but I'm not going to be in a position where, if I'm fighting with like a fox and it's trying to bite the fuck out of me, I'm holding it down on the ground with one hand and putting rounds in that motherfucker, or trying to rip its fucking head off. It's like, I have not suffered from the illusion of the Disneyification of wild animals, and a fox. This video is worth seeing, dude. I'll send you a link. It's like, I think they even made Fox News because it's Fox News. But
Fox on Fox.
Yeah, Fox on Fox. And finally, a Fox on Fox. But this fox is really like holding its own against this woman.
Oh, no, there's another Fox on Fox. She got the Sunday show.
Oh, that's right. Shannon Bream got Fox News Sunday. So good for her.
She's easy to look at.
Like some of these, these people, like some of the big guys, they fall and they're retiring or they leave. And, Chris Wallace was out. Who's the guy that was at Fox for years that got run off?
Bill O'Reilly.
And Tucker Carlson took over his slot. You could make the argument, like within the TVs, there's an argument to be made, like, was Bill O'Reilly that good, or was it really the time slot? Now Tucker Carlson's even bigger than Bill O'Reilly, I think. And to answer that question, I recently had noticed Bill O'Reilly on his podcast has McDonald's as a sponsor of his
Really?
podcast. Yeah, and it's like, Bill O'Reilly must be doing pretty good. He's got McDonald's as a sponsor for his podcast. And Bill O'Reilly's sitting in his house doing his podcast with McDonald's, negotiating directly. He doesn't need Fox. He doesn't need those people above him. He doesn't need the Murdochs. Good for Bill. I can't imagine how good it must feel for Bill O'Reilly.
Well, are you angling for Massey Ferguson for our sponsor? Or Wilson?
Not the local dealer. Not the local dealer. The Massey Ferguson guy. Like if the Massey, let me put it this way: if the Massey Ferguson tractor suffers a warranty-related problem, and that means they have to fix it without making money, I would not be surprised. I'm not saying I expect them to do this, but if it takes them a few weeks to even return my call, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't even be that mad about it, because I kicked the shit out of it. I kicked the Massey Ferguson dealer the way that old grandma was kicking that fox around.
Did you feel like you one-upped them?
It wasn't about one-upping, but I'm not going to take your first price, and I don't have to take your 8% broke-ass farmer financing either. So,
speak about broke-ass farmers, with your induction into the Liar's Corner, you'll be able to sit down there at their local little cafe with breakfast, and how farmers all sit around and they outlie each other and all cry how broke they are. Yeah. I'm sure every town I've ever seen has a Liar's Corner where all the farmers meet.
They do. My grandfather was a farmer, but he was too busy to be spending time hanging out with people. But when we built the John 1911 range, word was getting around, and it's like, who are these people? Why are they spending all this money? And like, at first everyone thought we were opening up a public gun range, like we're going to sell memberships. It's like, no. And then, it's like, no, it's cops only. And then we had firefighters calling. It's like, sorry, cops only. And, and it's like, this is not for the public. This is for the John 1911 business and our armory and our stuff. And what happened was, it took me a while to figure it out, but the contractors we had hired to do a lot of the dozer work, they would go down to the local VFW hall in the mornings during the week and have breakfast.
Liar's Corner.
The Liar's Corner is the VFW hall in this particular county, and they all get around. They the guy Marky up there, and they're spending all kinds of money. It's like, oh, who are they? I was like, I don't know. The guy just gives me a check, and then I run the machine. Then and that Marky guy, he wasn't happy with the size of the case bulldozer. He's paying $200 an hour for the D8 bulldozer. they're like, well, how much money does he owe you? And they're like, he doesn't owe me anything. Every couple of weeks I ask him for money. He gives me a check. And, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the whole county knows we're out there. And, I kind of had to. But you know what? It could have been worse. Like where I used to work, they have a training facility. It's hundreds of miles away from where we are. And they were building their facility in the 90s, in the early 90s. And it had, same situation, Liar's Corner or the VFW Hall. But the rumor was that they were a militia group that was building a compound. Because, again, in the early 90s, a bunch of dudes building gun ranges, it's a reflection of, your culture. And in the 90s, you had Waco and Ruby Ridge. And so literally it's like this militia is coming in. And they're like, oh, my God, a militia is moving into the county. And they were all cops building this fucking place. And, they had to literally, let everybody know, we're all law enforcement. We're not part of a goddamn militia. Are you smoking crack? We don't fucking militia people here. Again, this is when militia people, how things come, like bell bottoms, how things come in and out of style. It used to be militia people blew up federal buildings. Now militia people defend the Constitution. So, pretty, boy, how things have changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How things have changed. How's my new microphone? Speaking of change.
Your microphone's been real good. We've had one time where it's gotten low, and I think it's just from you doing something. But the quality is good. For the people, because the drinking game, I officially declare the Danny Watch Your Microphone drinking game might be over because Danny went out and got a Sony microphone and listening to this podcast and listening to him today, it's the bomb, dude. I mean, it sounds beautiful.
Please give us feedback.
Please give us feedback, and you're last of the Danny Watch Your Microphone drinking game. So, but
good.
Speaking of foxes, did you see the pictures? Because we're going into the pop culture area. Because it just all can't be dirty politics. I got to have some fun, and I hate to do this. Dude, did you see the photographs of Maria Shriver without makeup?
I puked.
It's unreal.
I'll tell you what, the Cruella? Oh.
It's unreal. It's unreal. And
her face looks 20 inches long.
Maria Shriver, people are like, who is Maria Shriver? She is from the Kennedy clan. And
wasn't she Arnold squeezed for a while?
She was married to Arnold when Arnold was caught cheating with the housekeeper and had that child. But their daughter is married to one of the, can't remember her daughter's name and Arnold's daughter's name, but she's married to one of the big Hollywood actors now. People listen to podcasts will know whoever that is. But anyway, you see, there's a picture of her and you're looking at her and I can't figure out, I mean, I'm being very unkind here and I'm trying not to be, because there's just no way to talk about it. You look at her and you're like, okay, is this fucked up plastic surgery or does she actually just look like this? And I'm not sure. I'm literally, because, the Kennedys kind of, as they get older, they get this kind of droopiness and lines on their forehead, and maybe it's just her genetics, and which if it's true, then she needs to get a sponsorship for a makeup commercial.
Well, she doesn't look like Sargent, that's for sure.
I'm almost afraid to say this, but it's like she literally looks like a character in one of those alien lizard movies. You're like,
you're being kind. You're too kind.
I'm not kidding. I'm not talking about a woman that doesn't, a woman of a certain age, and maybe, not all women of a certain age can, be gorgeous, because a lot of women that are attractive aren't really attractive. They're really young. Where truly attractive women tend to age very well. As opposed, Britney Spears to me is not an attractive woman. She was a very young woman, and as she gets older, she will age normally. Whereas, you take someone like Sophia Loren or some of these other women, they're very attractive, because they're attractive women. But you look at Maria Shriver walking, and she looks like, if you had told me that she was had a part in a movie for like the lizard people coming back to Earth, and this was her makeup, I'd have been like, oh yeah, she looks like a lizard. I mean, like it's like, what the fuck? It's like, I mean, is that what she always looked like that, or makeup? And I'm just like, holy cow. So anyway, I just, this is why we don't. This is why Red Book doesn't sponsor the podcast, because we're not gonna.
Yeah, or any makeup company.
Any makeup company. So, did you see this? There was a story. You know what a LaFerrari is? Danny's. I guess I can say this. One of Danny's sons has a nice car collection. So Danny is not completely illiterate when it comes to nice exotic cars. Right? Is that fair to say without getting too deep in?
Yes, that's very fair.
That's fair. Okay, so I'm not saying he's going to end up on VinWiki one day, but you never know. You don't even know what VinWiki is, do you?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay, you do know what VinWiki is. Okay. Well, you know what? You got to be able to keep up with your son. So do you know what a LaFerrari is from the Ferrari line?
Was that one out of the 90s?
The LaFerrari, I think, came out. No, it's a relatively new car within a couple of years. It was a Ferrari that was hard to get. You had, you're very familiar with this. Like, even if you have the money. Okay, all right, here's a story. Remember the story I told about Steve Wynn buying a Ferrari, and he had a Ferrari dealership, and then he bought this Ferrari, and he was like, I don't really fucking drive this.
Yeah, he didn't like it, and he turned it back or something.
He sold it, and Ferrari says you're not allowed to sell these cars because it's how they work. And I think the car that he sold, that basically, Ferrari was like, we're Ferrari, you can't do this, you got to buy the car back. And he's like, I'm Steve motherfucking Wynn. And you greasy fucking Italians need to get the fuck out of my goddamn casino and take your fucking Ferrari dealership with you. I believe the car that they were arguing over was a LaFerrari. I'm saying that to say this. The LaFerrari initially MSRP'd for $1 million, and they think right now they're worth probably about $3 million. But they don't transact. They don't transact very often because there's limitations on them transacting. But to insure the car, it's a fair assessment to insure the car for $3 million. So in Monaco, a valet driver was moving. If you've ever been to Monaco in front of the casino, and a valet driver is moving a LaFerrari for the owner, and I guess he didn't set the emergency brake, and it rolls and crashes into a bunch of scooters. And the owner's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Are you out of your fucking mind?" And it's horrendous, and it's like, no. But in the valet driver's defense, I mean, he probably doesn't see that many LaFerraris, and a lot of these cars are so unusual, you can't even figure out how to start them half the time.
I looked at the one that I sent you the pictures of. I can't even figure out where the steering wheel is on that damn thing.
Oh, well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. So.
Well, it's just like, fuck this. What I mean?
Danny's son has recently taken possession of a car that is highly desirable, and I'm not going to say what the car is, and I'm not allowed. I haven't been told I can even publish the pictures, so I'm not going to publish the pictures, because if I were to publish the pictures, you'd probably find his son, one of his sons. But I would say
limited edition.
It says this way. We're in the LaFerrari neighborhood, and the only reason a LaFerrari costs more than this car is because this car just came out. But in 3 or 4 years, this will be a LaFerrari price car. And so Danny and I talk about cars all the time. So because I am kind of a car guy. I mean, I take better care of my tractor than I do my truck. But I
as you know, I drive a Jeep, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, Jeeps are fine. Peasant. I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute. When I tool down there in my son's car, you won't be calling me peasant. I'll say, look at this slimy fucking neighborhood.
Oh God. You
want to go?
Has your son given you any indication on his supercar? And it's not his first supercar. Legit. I'm not saying exotic. I'm saying supercar. Is your son given an indication if he's just going to keep the miles down on it and see what happens, or is he going to be the guy that's going to be like, road trip to San Diego?
No, that's not coming. Yes, he not full out. He wants to keep it under 2,000 miles for the next 6 months. Well, it's going to be garaged pretty soon because fall's coming.
Okay.
It's garaged all the time, but you know what I mean. It's gonna be,
I see. Because it gets parked. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So under 2,000 miles for. Well, here's the and can I say that? I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be oblique about it, because it's just worth mentioning. Danny's son, before he officially actually left with the keys to the car from delivery, was made an offer by somebody else on the spot to buy it for more money already.
A lot more money.
A lot more money. And, I'm glad your son didn't take it, because I think it'll be worth a lot more money in a few years. But just to give an idea, this is a car. This isn't like a Gallardo you're going to go out and just drive around. This is I'm sure this LaFerrari doesn't have a lot of miles on it either. So,
The only thing I just don't like the color. You love it, I don't.
I love the color. I wish I could show a picture of it, but we have not gotten permission from upon high. So anyway, we've been going for a long while, and
Yeah, I got to go look for a baseball glove.
Okay. Oh, so I guess we should do the police blotter, and the first one is, in the age that we live in, there's a story about a father. Look, we've all gone through COVID, remote Zoom medical visits, and like remote all this stuff. And there's a father who has a son who, hence why he's a father. I don't know. There was some kind of like injury or something like around one of his son's private parts. So he contacts the doctor, and he's like, "What is this? Is this normal? Is this whatever?" And so he takes pictures of sends it to a doctor, sends it to is this normal? Is this whatever? Is this the thing? And the doctor's like, "Yeah, this is fine. Don't worry about it. Here's some medicine. It's not a big deal. It's whatever." Well, apparently Google's AI fucking flagged this as kiddie porn, and literally reported it to the cops. The cops had to investigate. They shut down his Google account, which shut down his phone. And even when the police were like, "Yeah, this is nothing. This isn't real," it took forever. I still don't even know if he still has his phones and shit all turned back on. He lost all of his stuff, which is interesting. You're doing stuff on Zoom or whatever. So, interesting story. The second story is out of England. Tyson Fury has come out, and he wants the government to do more to curb knife crime, because I guess a cousin of his was stabbed to death in England. And it's like, well, because it's England and knife crime is on the rise, if you take away guns, you end up dealing with knives. Just ask the Mexicans here in America. And, the best way to solve, knives are very dangerous, and it doesn't solve every problem, but, it certainly helps to have a gun during a knife fight. So that would be my solution to Mr. Fury. And the final police blotter story, which is a horrendous story, comes out of Colorado. A female Colorado social worker, lesbian, apparently was hitting on the mothers of a bunch of children. She would hit on these women, and if the women rebuked her or rebuffed her advances, she would turn around and file child abuse claims against the parents to try to coerce them. Holy shit. And this will not get national news, because we do not ever say anything negative or disparaging against the sainted lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender population. And the reality is they're just like the rest of us, and there's dirtbags out there who need to go to prison. So
that's it.
That wraps up episode 269 of the John 1911 Podcast. If you want to see numerous stories or pictures of links of anything we discussed, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Go find your mother's box.
No, baseball club.
Baseball club. Okay, bye.
Bye.